Okay, so thank you. We've got the pleasure of the graveyard slot this afternoon, so thanks everyone for coming, much appreciated. So we're here today for preserving the diversity of life on Earth through federation, which perhaps is one of the more audacious titles of the session. So by introduction, I'm Paul Heaney, CISO at ProofID, so we're a global managed service provider around identity and access management technologies.
And I'm Humphrey. I'm the IT director for WWF International, part of WWF Global.
Thank you. So today we're going to go through and look at actually how we used federation at WWF to bring the organisation together to help to simplify their IT, to give the users the greatest experience, to actually allow them to go on and actually achieve their goals of, as the title said, preserving the diversity of life on Earth. So go ahead with sort of introduction of sort of who WWF are and sort of some background to them.
So who recognises our panda? Anybody? Few, yay! Well done, fantastic. So we were born, WWF, in 1961, which is even older than me. Not much, but even older than me. I was quite excited when Andy this morning put his hippo picture up. And I thought, yeah, we've made it to the front, but no, it's an acronym, but never mind. So yeah, our panda logo was inspired by Chi-Chi the panda, who had just taken up residence at London Zoo. And it kind of demonstrated that we were up for a challenge straight away, because I'm not sure how much you know about pandas, but they've actually got the anatomy and physiology of a carnivore. And somewhere along their evolutionary track, they decided, no, we're not going to eat the animals anymore, we're just going to eat bamboo shoots. So that's why whenever you see a picture of a panda, he's eating, because they have to eat all day in order to get the nutrition that they would otherwise have got from their natural diet. But we decided we were going to save them anyway. So it's amazing they got this far. So when we started, it was all about really endangered species and endangered ecosystems. And we've pretty much stayed on that track, but now we're talking more about people living in harmony with nature and protecting the whole planet and the balance that way. We've now got presences in over 100 countries. We've got 6,500 staff worldwide. We changed about three years ago. We went through a fundamental change in our organisation. And we did two things. Our secretariat, which is currently based, or is still based in Gland in Switzerland, which is just outside of Geneva, instead of having 300 people in one office, we dispersed them across the planet. So now most of those people, apart from about 80, are now spread across those 100 offices. So we need to make sure that they can collaborate and work together as a unit, as an organisation, but in a dispersed way. The other thing we've done is we've now focused our attention as a global network on some global goals. We've got 9 of these, and they're coordinated from WWF International in distributed teams, but they're all linked into all of those 100 offices. So different offices will have a different range of those global goals. There's fresh water, there's oceans, there's climate, there's all sorts of things. So depending on your office and your local interests, you will do things in different ways. So that's another layer of global dispersity, but also the necessity to work together globally. So we've got over 13,000 projects, but for the most part, they will focus on those global goals. Now, in terms of our IT and our technology, each of those 100 offices or 100 presences, because we're a federation, we're not a command and control organisation. They have their own IT structure. So we've got roughly 50-50 on a Google stack and a Microsoft stack. And they all have their own requirements in terms of security and how they do their work. So my job at WWF International is to provide a platform that everybody in the network can access, no matter where they are, which office they come from, and which of those global programs they work with. We've got to do that securely, robustly, in a way that makes the user experience as easy as possible. So, slight problem, hence we turned to ProofID for some help.
Thank you. So, yeah, as Linda said, so there's two broad areas for WWF. So there's the international services that are provided out of Switzerland that cover services that are provided to all organisations globally, all users globally, so sort of the Google platform, group intranets, collaboration tools, so people in all the different offices are able to actually interact and share information, share knowledge, share data about the work that they're performing. So they use sort of things like there's a group intranet that's been developed in-house. There's a workplace by Facebook deployment that's used across the globe. There's also a range of internal applications. So there's an extensive photo library that's used for marketing, collaboration, publicity, that has got photos that serve all the various areas of the organisation. There's event management systems, so they can organise conferences, events, meetups, etc. So these are provided at the global level. But the local offices have their own individual IT departments. They've got a team of people that are responsible for IT. That might be somebody who's also a fundraiser. But in some of the larger countries, there's a team of people there that actually provide a local IT infrastructure. So local offices have their own local IT infrastructure, Active Directory, that services sort of the file and print, authentication, local tools, local collaboration tools that are used within that country. So this leads to sort of a separation of areas. So as an international user, you will have multiple sets of credentials. So as a user, you've got your credentials, say, in the UK or in the US, and then you've got your international credentials. So leads to lots of different sets of credentials that you've got to use to log in. You've got to remember, what is my username, what's my email address I'm going to use on this, is it my US email address, is it my global email address, what am I using to log in, what's the password, and what am I going to log in with, and then how am I going to actually get access? How am I going to be onboarded into those services? So I've started in the Indonesian office perhaps, or the Vietnamese office. I want to then access the intranet. I want to start to collaborate with my peers across the globe. Well, somebody's then going to go in and fill in a form, upload it into Google. Somebody's then going to go and provision an account manually into the international services. And that then takes a long period of time to get up and running. So people are getting slow access to their systems, to their data. But from a security perspective, then actually people are always very quick to onboard new users that, well, I need to access the photo library, I need to be able to access Zoom so I can do a video conference. But people rarely then think, yes, but Fred in fundraising left last week, or the guy in Africa has now retired from helping the elephants. So how do we disable that individual? And you get these people just left lying around, which is obviously causing a security nightmare from the presence of their account still, but also consuming licenses, which then has a cost. So there's a number of areas here that ultimately lead to a poor user experience. So multiple credentials they've got to remember, and frustration that they can't get access to the services that they want on day one. So what did this lead to? So sort of Linda and WWF reached out to us about two and a half years ago now, and outlined the problems, and sort of their goal was to have easy access to their systems, to allow all users to be able to log in wherever they are in the world with one set of credentials. So kind of one credential to rule them all. So we looked at various ways that we could do this, and sort of had discussions over the years and over the time that how this could be achieved, and previously we looked at solutions using, again, sort of the Novell IGM to synchronise and consolidate, but it was sort of overhead, sort of getting actually the implementation to get that into place. And ultimately, every country wants to keep their data independent because of the federated model, because of legal requirements that perhaps we don't want the US data to be in Europe, we don't want European data in the US. So we need to come up with a solution that allowed you to use your local credentials to access all your resources. So Ping Federate was chosen as the federation technology, and that's been then deployed in a hub and spoke topology. So we move on to actually the diagram of how this has been deployed. So we've got a central Ping Federate globally hosted by ourselves. WWF International have very little data center presence. They want everything to be consumed sort of out of there. They don't want to be managing tin. That's not their business. So we host an international instance of Ping Federate that is used as that central hub that has federated connections to all of the applications that they use. So things like Google, the intranet, Zoom, Workplace. But then we need to be able to actually have users authenticate with their in-country credentials. There's no VPN, there's no network connectivity between any of the countries, any of the offices. So how do we do that securely? So the model we came up with is we deployed individual Ping Federates in countries where they had a IT infrastructure, so places like the UK, like the US, like Vietnam, some of those countries. We deployed a local Ping Federate instance and had that as a hub and spoke approach into the applications. For countries that don't have an IT infrastructure, so some of the field offices are very small, that there's 5, 6, 7 people in there that are doing conservation work, that there is a central LDAP instance that's currently running on Open LDAP that has all the users' details in there. Has also got the rich structure of which their offices they're in, what resources they've got access to, and various pieces of information are in there that drives the intranet. So deployed a central Ping Federate and then did SAML connections out to each of those individual connections to each of those individual countries. So user experience was key, or is key. So come into the initial login screen, so try and access Google, try and access any of the applications. You get straight into this login screen, which the first thing it asks you is, what is your email address? So the eagle eyed amongst you will see that the URL is sso.panda.org here. The user enters their email address, so they enter this example here, their UK email address. The screen looks the same to the average user. Nothing has changed, but the URL is now SSO UK, so we bounce over into the UK to actually authenticate into the application using my UK credentials. Additionally, in here, the requirement that this is very flexible, that the business can change the branding, the background, the images. So on a monthly basis, the background image on the login screen changes. So that's managed out of Singapore. There's a desire not to have IT, not to have ourselves involved on a monthly basis to change the image. So this picture's from a few months ago where we had a tiger. Now it's a picture of a coastal scene. Next month, I don't know what it's going to be. It might be a rainforest or a whale or a panda or some other conservation-related image. So all of this is managed. All the content on these screens is pulled from the CMS system, and we can then allow the individual organisation, the individual responsible for the branding to actually update this without needing to involve anybody from IT. So experience is consistent no matter which country you're in. If you're in the UK, the US, then you get the same image, so users get the same experience. So how have we done? So far, there's 11 countries that are connected with their own local federation service. So there's the international instance and then the 11 countries that are connected. There's, as of last week when I checked the stats, there's 33 connected applications with, out of those 6,500 employees, there's about 2,000 users log in on an average day. So that might seem like a relatively low figure in a typical enterprise organisation, but a lot of the staff, a lot of the people at WWF are actually field-based, so they've got to log in once a week, twice a week when they get back to base from wherever they've been, out in Africa or out in the rainforest, wherever. So how did we actually manage the rollout of this. So previously, WWF had a shibless service in International that used the LDAP instance to have all the users authenticate in, which was a separate set of credentials. So what we first did is we implemented the what we call the International Ping Federate, so that hub of the architecture, integrated that with the central open LDAP, and used an integration kit so we could still keep the connection shibless, but we can move the user experience over and then transition application by application. So we could do that with zero downtime without impacting any of the users. So we built that. Then we needed to actually start to roll out to individual countries. So trying to get sort of all the field offices to utilise a central instance, there's going to be pushback. We wanted to make it as simple as possible, and what we've found is that in the organisation we've done similar work, there's usually a third of the customers, a third of the users, a third of the countries will get on board, a third of the offices will get on board and join straight away, a third will sort of trail and be dragged along, and the final third will be stubborn and will be the last one. So we want to make it as simple, as easy as possible. So developed a very simple form to onboard individual countries. So it's one side of A4, asks about 10 or 11 pieces of information about where those users are, where the AD is, where to install the Ping Federate, and the country can then fill that in and send that across, and we can then onboard them. But just sending out a form doesn't really work, so there's a comprehensive awareness campaign done between ourselves and the local IT guys, so with the help of some of Linda's colleagues, Michelle in Europe, Caleb in Singapore, some colleagues in the US, in the various areas, to actually do an awareness campaign, do a call, briefing with the individual offices to actually give them the benefit, explain how this technology would enable them, and then give them the flexibility to join when they wanted to join, rather than saying, you must all be done by a set date, that they can then come along and join as and when. And what we're now finding is that user demand in countries actually saying, for countries that aren't integrated, that I need to join this, we need to join this, it's a pain. So countries are now actually forcing their IT departments to effectively get on board. So what challenges do we face? So there's kind of two broad categories. There's the non-technical ones, so countries, we rely on individual IT offices to actually work with us, to actually make necessary changes, to actually partake in the system. And some of those were sceptical that they'd seen previous initiatives to try and have a global IT, a global authentication mechanism fail at the early hurdles. So there's a lot of scepticism initially, and there's a lot of sort of winning hearts and minds effectively with the first few countries, first few offices, and then we got them on board. On the technical side, a number of issues. So something that was fairly new to us is there was a lot of users and a lot of offices actually in very remote places with very slow bandwidth, with very limited bandwidth. So sort of dial-up wasn't perhaps uncommon at the time. There was slow leased lines, slow ISDN. So sort of making it work, ensuring the timeouts were accurate, were suitable for those countries, and sort of an ongoing challenge is connectivity in China with the Great Firewall of China preventing access. And then we hit a problem deploying into Uganda. So we built the environment, we were ready to go live, and then all of a sudden sort of, it's not responding. Where's the server vanished? Where is the server? And sort of after getting on the phone and ringing the guy in Uganda, he said, yeah, sorry, the herd of elephants just come through and taken the telephone pole down, and we've lost internet connectivity. So can we reschedule for another day, please? So that's probably one of the more interesting issues in the rollout, where elephants are in the way. Okay, so Linda?
So from our side, the benefits have been huge. When we talk about IT teams in some of our field offices, you are literally talking about one person, maybe 1.5 if we're lucky. So having a solution like this which enables our users all across the world to access all of the shared resources globally with very little input and administration from that very scarce IT resource has been absolutely fantastic. It's been one of the things that's been driving our internal demand because they see how successful it's been in some of the other small offices, and now that skepticism is starting to go away. From the user perspective, it's absolutely fabulous because they don't have to remember all these different user IDs and passwords, and they've automatically, without even realizing, moving seamlessly from their local environment to our global one without having to change systems, and it's a seamless experience for them. For my team, it's great. It's something we've been trying to do for years, and the technology's just not been available. We tried building stuff ourselves. My team's not big. I mean, we provide that global platform, but there's only 10 of us, and we do kind of everything. So having the support and the help from ProofID, and just need to shout out to you guys. You've been fantastic. You've really helped us on this journey, and we've been able to really sell it to our organisation to the point where we're now looking to extend it and build more onto it to make it even easier and put more power into it. The other thing with the local offices is that they maintain their autonomy, which is always very important to them. We are a federated organisation, so they're not concerned about losing data or losing control of their own users. So this strapline Together Possible is where we work internally, and this project has certainly helped us to deliver that to the benefit of our conservation work around the planet.
Thank you. So where's this going to go? So we're going to continue expanding, adding more countries, integrating more countries so that more users can benefit from this, integrating more applications, so there's a whole raft of applications that are coming to light that are deployed within the organisation that could benefit from a single authentication source. We're also looking at bringing in multi-factor authentication to all the group services so we can secure those further, and also actually extending this and providing a central radius service that can be used by all the Wi-Fi in the various countries, so that people can go into an individual office and log in with their local credentials to the Wi-Fi in that location. So that's where we're looking to actually expand that over the coming years, so make everyone's life a lot simpler and a lot securer. So as a gift and call at the end, there's 40 pandas at our booth, so pop by tomorrow morning. So I believe the expo's shut now, but pop by in the morning. There's 40 or so cute little Panda Bears sitting there. So use the passphrase elephant to get one, and they'll magically appear. Yes. So mixing our animals in there. And yeah, for those that want to donate, there's a URL on the bottom that you can donate. You can buy more Panda Bears, or other stuffed toys are available. So at that point, thank you. So any questions?
Yeah, thank you for sticking it out to the end. Very grateful. Thanks.
So that authentication system you used was using ping, but is there a governance solution that you're using to?
So the question was, so solutions based on ping. Is there a governance solution in place? Not at the moment. So one of the things that's sort of on the roadmap eventually, but governance is very much done by in countries, sort of Bob starting today, and very much more manual. But yeah, that's sort of.
It's an aspiration. Okay.
Is there?
So in your architecture diagram, the individual ping instances that are in the country's data centers, are those owned by WWF? And do they federate to that central one?
So they, yes. So the question was sort of, are there ping federates in individual countries, individual offices owned by that country and federating in? Then yes. So it's a completely different ping federate instance. There's a SAML connection between the two, and some countries have actually taken this further and actually said, in the country we're using Office 365, that we've wanted to do federation for a long time, but we've not had the server, we've not had the resource, we've not had the skills to do it. So actually, can we piggyback on the back of what we've already got in place now? And we've got countries like the UK and the US that have integrated 365 and a number of other tools into there. So yes, we're doing that and kind of using the ping federate federation hub functionality.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.